welcome. It's been a while. Everybody signed in. Everybody that came signed in. Marcy's got a sign-in sheet for those that didn't. The purpose of this meeting, it's an update. It's a status update. Basically, it's been a while, and we were full steam ahead with. We had the public informational meeting. We were trying to set a date. That was going to be the next step. And some things have changed since then. So we put a hold on the public informational meeting for now, and we wanted to take a step back. And we're having this meeting to update everybody on the status. We don't have anything new. I hope that came through in the announcements. But we don't have anything new to release or to issue yet, but we just wanted to have a quick meeting to update everybody. We're still here. And
you haven't gone away yet?
We haven't gone away. No, we're still here. But what? I think it was that easy.
It's a nice welcome.
Yeah. Let's see you again.
I'm really
but just we wanted to go what's causing these changes and what it would likely mean and what we're going to be doing going forward. So just want to put a quick presentation, a couple of slides, 4 slides, and I try to anticipate what's probably the questions. What's going on? Why did we postpone the public informational meeting? And I'll answer these as we go through them. What will the changes mean to the study, and what's the plan going forward? The first, what's going on? And there's really, what's driving the delay, 2 new pieces of information came up. First, PVPC, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, issued new growth projections. This is for employment and population growth. And we had been basing our projections on, in large part, on the PVPC projections, which were 28% growth rate over a 25-year period. The new projections are significantly different. It's dropped to a 3% growth rate. That's a huge change. Obviously, it affects our traffic projections significantly. So as we're projecting out over a 25-year period, we're not going to see that growth rate based on these projections. So that was one major change. The other one is it actually goes to the analysis of the roundabouts themselves, the models that we were using. Roundabouts are not that common in this state yet. They will be, eventually they're getting more popular, but they're just not that common. So we wanted, before we took it to the public, we just wanted to do another independent check of it ourselves. So we have engineers that do roundabouts in other states, quite a few of them. So we asked them to take their own look, and just to make sure, because roundabouts are very sensitive. They need to be modeled very correct, very accurately, and when they fail significantly. It's that when they work great, but there's a fine line where they fail. So we wanted to make sure that, before we went to the public, before possibly even constructed, we wanted to make sure that whatever we were proposing was correct. So our engineers did their analysis, and they came back and made some recommendations to change some parameters in the model. Some of the things they felt could be more conservative, or should be more conservative, as far as gap acceptance, how acceptable, what gap do people accept before they go out? Speeds through the roundabout. What speeds are people actually going to be driving? Things like the type of truck. What's the type of truck that we're using? And then there was also just some recommendations as far as how the model is set up. Trying to, there's some things in the model that made it work almost more like a rotary instead of a roundabout. So we wanted those out.
Can you just say what you mean by more conservative or less aggressive? I'm not sure.
Less aggressive as far as if you have a shorter gap. What's the gap that somebody's going to accept before they accelerate into that traffic? And our engineers looking at it thought that we were a little too aggressive we were setting the parameters a little too tight so that they would accept a much smaller gap.
In other words, we were assuming more people would go through than they're saying will go through.
Yes.
They're saying, okay.
Yeah. So that was enough of a red flag that we said, hold on, let's take a step back and make sure we got it right. So we've been going back and forth. Maureen's been going out last week and started to do some observations of other similar roundabouts. Frankly, there's not that many similar roundabouts in the state. There's one in Worcester, so her people went out last week and measured the gap acceptance. Just trying to observe other roundabouts and see how they operate. So it's not based on on books and theoretical. It's going to be based. The parameters that we're putting in there are the hard data from observed Massachusetts drivers. So with those two things, we thought, all right, we can't go to the public with this yet. We need to take a step back, which brings me to the next one. Yes.
I just want to be really clear that you're projecting that over the next 25-year period, our employment and population growth will be 3%. Is that what I was
Yes,
saying?
that is, the PBPC issued new population projections, and for Northampton, it's a 3% growth rate. I believe the region is 5, right? The overall region, but Northampton, it drops to 3%.
And this is happening all over the state. It's not just this region. I mean, we're seeing the same thing in the Boston area. It's affecting a number of projects.
So we dropped already, from 2000 to now. We dropped. So who projected 28% growth? Because that seems a little high in the first place.
Well, when we were developing growth rates last time, in the beginning of the study, we looked at what was in the PBPC model. We also looked at what had been done on the Connecticut River crossing project. When they had combined the PBPC model with the Franklin Regional Council of Governments model, those were showing just under 1% a year growth. And again, that's based on the census data from 10 years ago. And at that point, what they were projecting moving forward. So like you said, in the last 10 years, we've actually seen declines in population, which were not projected way back. And the economy has not been good. So those kind of filter into looking ahead and changing the outlook. So yeah, it's a significant change for those. And,
Could I just clarify one thing about the projections that recently came out? The state actually issues projections to each planning region for the region as a whole, and then the region takes those numbers and distributes them to each municipality in the region. So again, the state is the one that issued the latest growth projections for the Pioneer Valley region.
Right. So then, with those changes, we thought it was a good idea to hold on the public hearing. That would have changed a lot of the analysis, or is going to change a lot of the analysis. So we wanted to take a step back, make sure we got it right, and look at the projections and make sure that we're comfortable with what's there. And it's likely to cause some changes to the concepts. The roundabout analysis is likely to change those a little bit, and also the projections might change what we're seeing for. They're going to change what we're seeing for growth, obviously. So we want to definitely talk here first too. You formed your opinions based on data that you had seen before. So that's where we are as far as, or that's why we held on the public hearing, kind of slowed it up. We're still going to go to the public. Still going to have a public informational meeting, but obviously not in April.
I have a question. You may or may not be able to answer this, but could this change be as drastic as come back and saying to us, I know we looked at 3 concepts that you liked 3 concepts, and we may not even need a concept such as the double roundabouts. I mean, could it be that drastic?
It could. I mean, there still were some queuing problems today. But yeah, it could be that maybe it's not as much. Maybe it's a turning lane with some bike pedestrian. You know, we don't know yet, and that's why.
Okay, all right.
That's why we didn't.
Gotcha. That's fine. It's too far in advance.
So
Yeah.
are you not going to be presenting any options tonight for us to look at?
No.
Okay, so what's your time frame for bringing something to this committee and then going to public hearing? Do you have any sense of it?
I will soon. I don't. We're collecting the data,
Okay,
and once we get that data, we got to see what it means for our analysis and how much redo we have to do as far as, do we need bypass lanes in the roundabouts now? You know, we had one. Do we need two? What? You know, so until we get that data, I can't say for sure.
Just so I'm clear, I mean, they're still proceeding with looking at all three options based on new data.
Yes.
So it could be a roundabout, it could be just a simple redesign or enhancing the existing, or it still could be a no build.
Yes.
And it could be, so the
Yes.
same options are still on the table,
Yep.
except with this new data, we may be looking at designing those options a little differently.
Yes. We might be altering them a little bit, maybe even developing a modified version of one. Again, I can't say right now. I have some ideas, but until we start getting into the numbers. What will the changes mean? It's likely to require some changes to what we've seen from the alternatives. Maybe an elimination of an alternative, but at this point, likely modifications, possibly even a development of a new modified, or different variations of what you've seen. And then just the evaluation of the alternatives. You know, we presented an evaluation back at the first public informational meeting, and then you saw them at the last PAC, and we were tweaking them, and we were going to issue a new, basically an 11 by 17 spreadsheet with all of our descriptions of what was evaluated and what our criteria was. That will change, in particular the traffic, and if we have to change the configurations of the designs, the impacts might change as well. And as far as what's the plan going forward, like I said, this is a status update. We don't have anything to present at this point, but we thought we needed to get together to at least update you on what's going on. So going forward, we need to finish the field data collection. Like I said, Maureen was out last week and collected the initial data. There's some more she wants to get so that we can make sure we got the right data. And then we have to revise the analysis based on that. We're going to take those new parameters and alter them and revise the roundabout analysis. We're also going to revise all the analysis based on the new growth rate projections. We're going to modify the alternatives as needed based on that new analysis. And then we'd like to have at least another PAC meeting, obviously to go through what's changed. Depending on how that goes, we'll have to kind of play that by ear if it's one or two, and then to go to the public with it. So that's...
Can I, just to bring myself up to speed, because we hadn't met in a long time, when you presented the simulation of the roundabout with the traffic, that was based on a 28% growth, and that was what we were looking at was projected out 20-some odd years, 25 years.
Yeah, 25.
So looking at that simulation, was 25 years from now at a projected growth of 28%. Is that
That was the
correct?
projected growth of 28.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I forgot what my next question was going to be. I really can't. bring myself back up to date. Oh. What is the status of the present intersection that we're looking at now? Is it, where is it in terms of failing? What's the rating of that intersection as it stands today?
The roundabout?
No, the intersection as it stands today. I have to go back.
Yeah, overall D, but there were some movements.
D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which D? That's
D.
A through F.
Okay.
So
There
It
were
depends
some,
on the time for it.
sure.
But-
Yeah.
yeah.
You design for the peaks, but
Yeah, sure.
So the peak is D.
yeah. Is that AM? It's PM. It's PM. Peak is a D.
but there were some, I think there were some left turn movements that were worse than D within that. You know, D is the overall, the average of all the movements, but there were some movements worse than D.
Is there any possibility that the data that you would come up with and these new projections would require you to provide a whole new alternative or set of alternatives rather than what's been placed on the table up to now?
Good bit.
Okay.
I mean, we've basically we started with the big interchange alternatives, and that's been narrowed down. So it's kind of looking at we're down to a localized network, with the roundabouts and intersections. But we could introduce other factors depending on what we find.
I just went back to the existing conditions analysis that we did several meetings ago, and Route 9 at the northbound off-ramp and Dane Road, 2009 overall was level of service F in the morning and F in the afternoon.
Just a question.
That was in 2011?
At the peak,
Right,
again,
peak,
peak
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but as we noted, I think in Maureen's previous presentations, the non-peak hours don't drop off a whole lot
Right.
from the peak hour volumes. You hit the morning peak and then it drops back a little bit, but then it stays at that level. I think I probably got that in the chart.
Yeah, we
Showed
had that in
the,
the chart in one of the presentations, yeah.
Is that before they did any of the changes on the intersection, like getting all the other things?
No, that was after that.
That was after
That
that?
was including that.
What the difference? D with the delta.
Is it possible with the decrease in population projections that we would do nothing?
Yes, it's possible. Yeah, that's one of the things we've been considering through this. We have to keep on considering that.
I want a clarification question.
Sure.
You've narrowed it down to three, one of them being no build and one being roundabouts. But is it a single or a double roundabout? Because there was one of each.
Yeah,
And I lost track somewhere
we had
in the middle.
we had 3 and a no build.
Well, 3 plus a no build, so that would be a
13, 13A, and 13B. 13A, which was the single roundabout and the signalized intersection, dropped quite a bit over the last couple meetings, just because of traffic performance. The other two kind of rose above it. So I don't think we ever officially killed it, but it was not rated nearly as high as the other two, as this signalized intersections and the double roundabout.
So signalized intersection is what we have now.
Yeah, but it's some modifications to it, the extra turning lane.
Extra left-hand turn lane to access I-91 southbound when you're on Route 9
Yeah,
westbound.
yeah, and the other intersection is additional turn lanes there as well.
Which you mean Damon Road?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there was the double roundabouts, which were the complete redo. So it's the signalized intersections is a much, it's not as drastic a change.
Well, yes, and it's much less costly. Thank you.
Have you done a reevaluation of existing conditions since '09 was before the modifications, the new signal?
Well, our analysis was done with the new signal.
With the new signal?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was F before the signal, what is it with the signal?
Isn't that what you said,
Well,
it's
that's what
D
you're saying.
now?
I'm sorry, that D was not, I don't actually have the existing analysis with me. When we did our counts and we did our analysis, that signal was in place. They're asking about existing level service again
Yeah.
at both intersections.
You mentioned F in 09, but that was before the new left-hand flashing.
No, that was there. That was there when we did our analysis.
Sorry. Time goes by.
And just to, where you said with D that you misspoke, the D was the
D-
build.
The D was, yeah, the bill was the signal improvements on the bill. I'm sorry.
So,
That was actually, he actually said though, Rich, if I heard it right, that Route 91 northbound offering,
That was the offering, right, not the,
not the
not
actual
the
into.
offering.
not the, right, the
Correct.
southbound.
So you're not talking about the same
yeah.
signal.
The
So
Dana
it's-
Road intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thanks for that clarification. So,
You're talking about Dana Road, right?
actually, let's talk about the whole intersection. So, where is this? It sounds as if Rich's comment was restricted to the
Just to
off-ramp.
the offering.
So, we asked a few meetings ago, and I don't think we ever saw actually, it would be great to see the table with all the level of service analysis for existing conditions for all the various terminals. Is that on the website?
Yeah.
Great if we-
Yeah.
It'd be great if we just had that accessible to me to refer to as a baseline.
Our previous presentation.
Everything's on the website under
James.
PAC.
But we spent a lot of time looking for it last time and the time before, and we were unable to find it, so
I'll
somehow.
check on that. I'll
Okay.
check.
Finger pack meeting number 2.
Number 2.
This is number 1.
I've got number 1 here, number 6 and number 7 and number 8.
Yeah, it's still up there. We can take it
Okay.
down. It's just a matter of.
Any other questions? Frank?
Yeah. As we move forward with these new numbers and new analysis, the no bill probably comes into a bit more, how can I say this? It can be considered equally now to any of the others because of the new numbers, a no bill. However, if we start looking at a no bill, or just a slight modification, we've talked about it before in terms of traffic calming along Route 9, of traffic coming off of Coolidge Bridge, going through the intersection, and even though the speed limit is around 35, I can tell you that because it merges, people are doing a lot more than 35, and that's one of the main entrances to the city.
Right.
So as we look at the new data and look at still the options, can we take into consideration traffic calming? I guess what I'm saying, if we did a no bill, could something be done along with to create traffic calming? I mean, a double roundabout in itself would create traffic calming along Ridge Street.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at ways to see if we can get the benefits of the roundabout. Not saying the roundabouts are dead, but
Yeah.
to see, we'll also look at if we can get the benefits of the roundabout without a roundabout.
Okay.
Keeping in mind though that Route 9 is an arterial,
Yes.
it's a major through route, but we'll definitely take a harder look at that.
Yeah, but the traffic, the reason the traffic is accelerated on Route 9 is because the way the present intersection is designed.
Right.
I mean, that's my thinking.
It's a major route. You're coming at a high rate of speed from the west, and then
Right.
the lane drop into a sudden residential area. So it's
Right.
One of the things that a lot of people were concerned about on the old projections is that if you came back and said, we're going to recommend a no build, at some point you're going to come back and say, you know what, we do have to build, and what that period of time would be. If you come now and recommend a no build, would it be more likely that you would not come back with some kind of revision to build something through the 25-year period than you might have before? Am I clear?
for DOT on that one.
Well, no, I don't have a crystal ball.
But if you're going to grow 3% rather than 28%, and you say we're going to recommend a no build, or we're going to recommend very minor changes now, is it less likely that you would come back in 10 or 15 years with a more major construction project that would go through this whole process all over again?
What I would say in 10 years from now, which is well before 25 years, there will be another census count. There will be another reevaluation of growth, another reevaluation of traffic. So I don't know what that's going to be in 10 years. We didn't expect this, and there was a dramatic difference based on the recent census. So I guess I can't give you, there's no way to give you a definitive answer.
I suppose one way of looking at it would be that if that growth percentage held, whatever the recommended solution would have a longer life.
Yeah,
Whether it was a no build
we would design
or one roundabout or even two, even something more dramatic. It would likely have a longer life, at least for the period in which the projection was legitimate.
I wanted to come back to this question of speed limits. The speed limits approaching that intersection are not identical from all directions. The speed limit coming over the bridge is higher than that on Damon Road and Bridge Street. Damon Road and Bridge Street are both 35, but I'm pretty sure that coming over the bridge, it's at least 40, if not 45, and people are doing much more than that. So the traffic calming that is needed is on the Hadley side of the river, much more than on the Northampton side.
James?
Back to level of service. So I found, Rich, I assume this is the document you're talking about, which summarizes level of service around the area, including all the turning movements for Damon Road at the I-91 northbound off-ramp, but it's only for the peak hours. So I assume that the data exists for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we typically analyze peak hour. We don't analyze non-peak hours. But as Richard said, we did present at one of the PAC meetings a bar chart that showed how the traffic varied. Richard's got it. And typically what you see is the chart on the bottom where you see like a spike in the morning and a spike in the afternoon. But what we're seeing on Route 9 is the traffic tends to grow and then just stays there. Thank you, Richard. Yeah.
So that's from the PAC meeting 2?
I believe it is also.
Yeah.
All right.
And just while we're on this level of service, if I could just go back. When we looked at 2034 no build, and we optimized the signal times and all, we were getting the intersection Damon Road overall level service E. But you have to be careful with level service because it definitely relates right back to.
Maureen, is that at the 3% you're talking about, or the 25?
That's at
Just,
20,
or 28? Just
28%,
clarify
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But we do have movements at our level service F, and their volume to capacity ratio is over 1, which typically results in long queues. And I think you all know what I'm talking about, what we're seeing on the Coolidge Bridge, what we're seeing on 91 northbound off-ramp. So you know, I just don't want you to put too much weight on the overall level of service, where you have to consider the movements and the queue lengths as well.
Would you post these slides on
Yeah,
the site,
yeah, we'll put it on the FTP's, I mean, not the website.
on the website? Yeah.
Are we done?
Anybody have any other questions?
I just want to know about the time frame. Could you said we'd talk about it later and I haven't heard anything. What sort of time frame do you have for bringing something back? Is there any sense of how long this is going to take?
If I, extremely rough, we're looking at least a couple months. It's a pretty significant amount of work to change these, so, I'll say that, and we'll have to plan it out through emails and through Marcy, as far as when we get it, but it's likely, it's basically, we'd be looking at a meeting sometime in the middle of the summer, which, we generally try to avoid, but it's kind of where it would fall out.
Now, that would be another PAC meeting, not a...
PAC,
That's
yes.
not public.
Right.
We won't go to the public until the PAC is, again, gotten back to the point where we were before, reviewing all the alternatives and coming up with the PAC's position.
And I think it's really incumbent that we take the time to take a look at the new data we've got and make sure we get this right. You guys all got to see this stuff before we go. I've got the minutes, there's gonna be changes.
And DOT is considering another separate peer review, independent buffing analysis.
Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, we would have another independent consultant firm take the roundabout analysis, the revised analysis, and review them and see if, again, the DOT thinks that, try to make sure we get it right.
So that's not an analysis of the population growth projections, that's of the actual...
Of the traffic analysis. Right.
Okay. Thank you.
We have-
Sorry. No, go ahead,
One more
sorry.
question. Do we all have an opportunity to hear the outcome of that peer review?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you guys are going out to a nice restaurant as long as you are here.